Hey, it's Tony Brueski, and this is our week in review over the weekend, taking a look back at some of the most compelling conversations and stories that we've covered for you of the last week. Brand new episodes back Monday morning, bright and early, 5 a.m. here on the podcast.
You're listening to the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani.
The Delphi murder investigation keeps taking new twists and turns as it has since the beginning. Not necessarily talking about Odinism at this exact point in time. I mean, it's certainly there, but some new developments of leaks going on in this case. The leaks this time being very sickening, and we're just learning about them, having a lot to do with the images of the girls that are coming out. Leaks come from somewhere, and it's usually someone that has some sort of intention with them. What possibly could be the motive to have leaked photos like this to the public, other than just someone sick and wants to, throw it out there?
Yeah, I don't understand. The poor families of these two young girls who have been killed, and for years, their perpetrator hasn't been brought to justice, whether it's Richard Allen or whomever. I mean, this is a case that went cold. Lots of criticism of law enforcement, a lot of I would say, unorthodox behavior by the part of the defense. And again, we're still getting information. This is really breaking. It sounds like, but again, we don't know yet, that these leaks may have come from someone that worked for the defense as a former prosecutor. I mean, the last thing you want is your law enforcement or folks in, the district attorney's office to be leaking this type of information. It's a problem both for the victims. It's a problem, frankly, for the defendant as well. You don't want to taint the jury pool and have this information out there. Evidence needs to come in through the proper means in a court of law.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that this case has gotten a lot of attention. I'm sure there's folks that want to see this, but it's just not appropriate. So I'm hoping that this leak came from the defense, only because it's just going to make an already potentially difficult prosecution even more difficult if really law enforcement and prosecutors aren't doing a good job controlling the evidence in the case.
Let me ask you why, in your opinion, you think they went down the Odinist route in the document that they submitted about a month ago now. It seems that if Richard Allen is in fact innocent, were they put into a corner of, look, you may be innocent, but we got nothing to show that you're innocent? Were they just so back there, like everything, the little that they have does point to you, and we don't have a whole lot that doesn't point to you, even though he's the one who raised his hand and said, hey, I was there, just how can I help? And then he ends up getting arrested for this. Were they just backed into a corner? They needed something really dramatic to take down the road here with this, or is this just really poor decision-making on the part of his attorneys?
Look, it's tough to defend these types of cases because whether it's a death penalty case or not, I mean, you're usually not getting any type of discount, right? It's either going to be a life in prison or a capital case. So, if you're the defense attorney, and here, apparently Richard Allen, he's confessed, right? If you don't get this confession suppressed, you're really swinging for the fences. These are Hail Mary type arguments. They got to argue why, folks in the law enforcement system or in prison corrections officers have a reason to try to coerce this confession, right? And again, I'm not saying that this argument has any chance, but this is all you got if you're defending someone like Richard Allen and you're really confronted with this confession. You got to have some sort of explanation for the jurors as to why someone would confess to killing two girls and why that confession would be involuntary. So I don't think it's going to stick, but this is what the defense lawyers do because they only need to pick off one juror.
Do you think that the confession will make it into trial, or are they going to find some way to suppress that?
I think so. I think law enforcement has done a better job nowadays. These confessions usually are videotaped, recorded. They're trained not to say or do anything that may get the confession suppressed, especially in a murder case like this, right? They've had years. It's not like, this just happened today. They picked him up. So hopefully, I would think that, the folks that were investigating these cases, these were experienced officers that know what to say and what not to say to get a confession in and make sure it's not suppressed.
I imagine at some point we will hear the audio of that confession. And I'm wondering if this is going to come down to be either the nail in Richard Allen's coffin or if it's going to be the thing that sets him free. Are we talking mainly the tone of the voice, the way the message is delivered to the family, then how the jury interprets that?
It really comes down to two issues. The first is, you got to get it suppressed. If you're the defense, you got to get it suppressed before trial. Once it comes in, I think Richard Allen is toast. So there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can try to attack the Miranda warnings and the waiver, right? Everyone knows someone's arrested. They're given those warnings. They got to make a knowing and voluntary waiver of those rights. If that doesn't happen, the Miranda warnings are incorrect or the waiver is problematic. Maybe you can get it suppressed on that basis. The other is, of course, is that the confession itself is involuntary. It was coerced, right? It was beat out of him. They promised him something that they shouldn't. So unless you can get the confession suppressed because of the Miranda issue or the voluntariness, it's going to come in and the jurors are going to hear that. And usually often that's enough to get someone convicted.
Sick of the ads?
We are too.
Start listening with no commercials now and get access to all of our episodes in advance of everyone else.
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Sign up now.